let's talk about really quick. I really like Raoul. He's a big financial investor. Did regular traditional investing, retired early. So now he's into crypto and stuff. I really like some of his like long form discussions, podcasts, talks, whatever. He's a great one to listen to. This one says, I have been showing this spooky chart of ETH now versus Bitcoin in 2017 in various forums. This is my live on Bloomberg, even nailed the sell-off to the day and price what happened next. And so basically he's just showing Bitcoin to Ethereum and how it's like, I mean, this is pretty crazy. Like it's covering it within a couple years later. Like it's lagging, obviously, because Ethereum is a couple years behind in development terms and when it came out from Bitcoin. And he argues a lot of Metcalfe's law, which says like the bigger the more people on the network, the more value, the more people, it's just going to keep growing. The stronger the numbers, the stronger the economy, the system, etc. And I do agree with that. I really like what he's saying. He makes sense a lot of the time. But this chart, like he's saying, is amazing. I don't think I've seen anybody else show this off, but it's basically following it, one for one, a little bit of deviation. And we can only imagine if this continues where Ethereum is going, which my suspicion is it's going very high at some point. So even if there's better systems than Ethereum, honestly, like if Avalanche or Solana or whatever end up becoming like an amazing system, people love Ethereum because it's super decentralized, and Solana and Avalanche aren't as decentralized. So people just believe, they have high hopes for fairness and just less government and everything, and people sustaining themselves in life, and so that's why they believe in Ethereum so much. And I just don't think that there's any way Ethereum's not going anywhere because of those principles. So this is really great. This is from the end of 2021 in November. We'll see if it continues, but it's a really great chart. What do you think about this?
Yeah. Well, I always say, Bitcoin, it's the original, but Ethereum's Papa, man. It's got a lot of kids, man. It's got exactly what, like 15,000 kids or something like that underneath it. Like it's ridiculous. And kids, but I mean like coins, like what I mean, like it's a father, it's a father of like 15,000 coins.
It's way more important than Bitcoin is.
Exactly. To be honest, yes. Yeah. And the only thing why Bitcoin is up there is because it's the first. It was the first.
And people believe in it.
People believe in it. They believe it's gold, digital gold. I do remember seeing a chart back in like 2014 or 13. XRP was actually above Bitcoin for a while. Really? Yeah. Wow. It was.
I'd love to see that.
Just pull it up.
Maybe we'll find it.
Yeah, maybe we'll find it one of these podcasts. But yeah, so it was, XRP was above. It was the number one crypto before Bitcoin was dominant, like at all times. And I think Ethereum will have its day when it will top Bitcoin because.
You think so?
Yeah, I think so.
Too many use cases.
Too many use cases, and like everything, it's like it's a gate. Like it cannot go through the altcoins without going through. It's got to pay its dues to Ethereum. Ethereum layer one, man. Layer one's key, bro. Layer one's key. And
that's my strategy.
Yeah,
layer
one, because you got Bitcoin, which is like its own thing, which is like digital gold, and then you have silver.
It doesn't do anything.
Yeah, it doesn't do anything. It's just digital. You just sit it there and make it look pretty. And then you have Ethereum, which is like, it's like this person that's like, I'll do whatever you want me to do. Like it's like a butler, dude. Like you go do this, go do that. I'll do it. I don't know why I'm doing it, but I'm doing it. And then that's what Ethereum is. And then when he comes back with all this money because you told him to do all these things at once. And he's like, here's all your money because you're actually programmed me to do this. Yeah. And I think that's what Ethereum is. It's like the gate. It's a
programmable money versus a store of value. Which one overall wins?
Yeah.
Ethereum really does win long term.
It does because as soon as the mass adoption happens, the D apps, the contracts, the
infrastructure.
The infrastructure, but like everything you do now will be in a blockchain. Right. From stock market, I wouldn't be surprised if like social media and like your cell phone, like the way you call people, would be in a blockchain. Like, you know what I mean? Like texting people through the blockchain instead of internet or satellites. You know what I mean?
They want Web 3.0
Yes,
to
three be a
centralized.
be
Yeah, like a
centralized,
blockchain.
exactly.
And you own your more
Yes,
stuff
you
than
own,
Facebook
yeah.
and Google.
Like say you can sell your phone number to somebody. Like, hey, I got this nine, whatever. Let's say 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 0 0 0 whatever. Like you can sell that to somebody. Like, hey, this phone company doesn't own like this monopoly that we call a telephone company does not own my phone number anymore. I own it,
Right.
and I can sell it to anybody I want.
Yeah.
Kind of like what www.com boom was when they're like www.petsmark, go.com, whatever. People are buying domains.
Yeah.
You're going to be able to buy your own phone number. You're going to be able to buy your own email. You're going to be able to buy everything, and no one's going to be able to use it unless they buy it off you. But in the background, the blockchain is going to make a percentage off that royalty.
You know, it's so crazy when you say that. It just hit me that like Web 1.0 and 2.0 were all arguments for decentralization without even knowing it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, oh, I want to own this. I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to be away from everybody else where I can do whatever and have my own say. Mm-hmm. And that's like, they didn't even know what they were asking for. Mm-hmm. So I think that's what Web 3.0 and decentralization is so powerful. And they didn't even know what they were asking for at the point, right? Like, I think the original intention is it was an idea. It was like, oh, decentralization or free everything. And then, some companies did very well at what they did. And because of that, they became centralized automatically. But that was the original intention of www, World Wide Web originally. So I think that's cool that we're going back to that now, where that's what people wanted already.
Yeah, so the www World Wide Web, AOL and all those companies came in, and they're the ones that put the money to develop it, so therefore they became a monopoly. But now that that's gone and the patents are gone and everything's kind of like free for all, and we have smart people that can make that a reality and make that freedom a reality. Right. And that's where we're at right now, and that's where we're at.
Well, decentralized code and getting a bunch of people together to agree and rally that, you have to have some frustrations with the system, how it's working at the moment, right? Like if Google and whatever, Facebook and Instagram, people don't like that it's monopolized, then they will make a better option. And I think that's just the evolution of society that we're going through, right? So maybe that's like an ideal that we wanted in the past, but it's gotten bad enough where like all these companies collecting your data. That's like, hey, I want my data and I don't want like somebody, stewarding it or selling it. Well, we got to make a better way. I mean, I think that's really where we're at. So, almost because things have gotten worse, but then some people are true visionaries that are like, I don't really care the way the system is. I'm going to make something better anyways. And that's why I really do think people work on like Ethereum and some of these things for free because they just love the nature of decentralization. And honestly, I don't really blame them. I think it's really awesome. Definitely within probably since Ethereum was created in like 2015, I think this is 2015, 2016 was the very beginning of like true decentralization. And it's there's always growing pains. It's always a little awkward, but it's really revolutionary, and I think the world is going to be a better place for it. There is a couple of like Web3 websites that I've heard of so far. I don't know how successful they are, but slowly gaining traction regardless, and it'll be really cool to see where we go. I mean, if people can own their own data and don't have to worry about monopolies selling their stuff or collecting their data, I think that's the best version of the world that we can have. And I think even Twitter, like Jack Dorsey, like agrees with that. Like even though he has a monopoly, he's like, yeah, I want a decentralized world, and I think that's the most moral way to be, and he sees it, so I think that's really cool. We'll hit one last thing, and then it says ETH to hit 20 trillion market cap by 2030, ARK Invest. Now, ARK Invest is Cathie Wood, pretty reputable. She does pretty well. I wouldn't say that she's wrong a lot of the time. So, obviously, an outlandish claim, seemingly on the surface, but maybe not. Kind of things we've been talking about. I really do see decentralization taking over, or at least having like a large market share of society. So, not too outlandish as the more you think about it. So, ARK Invest new report predicts Ether's market cap will reach 20 trillion, and the Bitcoin price will exceed 1 million by 2030, based on Bitcoin's use cases and how ETH captures market share from TradeFi. A new report from Cathie Wood's ARK Invest forecasts Ethereum will meet or exceed even 20 trillion market cap within the next 10 years, which equate to a price of 170,000 to 180,000 per ETH. Now, that sounds a lot, that it's like under 3,000, but it's been, anywhere from 2 to 4,000 in 2021, beginning of 2022. I don't think that's outlandish. In a decade, you don't know what's possible. I mean, things can change so much. So I think they're kind of onto something here, potentially. The report also predicted big things for Bitcoin, saying as likely to scale as nation states adopt it as legal tender, and the price of Bitcoin could exceed 1 million by 2030. ARK Invest as a tech-focused American asset management firm based in the U.S. The prediction is ARK Invest report, Big Ideas 2022, is predicated on how quickly Ethereum network has grown in utility and efficiency. Most of the growth over the past 2 years has come from decentralized finance. ARK described the appeal of DeFi, stating, decentralized finance promises more interoperability, transparency, and financial services while minimizing the intermediary fees and counterparty risk. Something I kind of touched on here. DeFi is it's blowing up. It's going to keep blowing up. According to ARK, smart contracts and decentralized apps on Ethereum is... I'll let Leo do some reading.
Here we go. So in terms of Bitcoin, the report forecasts 1.36 million per BTC Bitcoin with a market cap of 28.5 trillion by 2030. ARK researchers assigned an estimated future value of 8 of Bitcoin's uses and cases and use the sum of all of them to research their conclusion about BTC. By 2030, the firm expects Bitcoin to account about 50% of global remittance of 1.5x velocity and 10% emergency market currency, 25% of U.S. bank settlement volume, 1% of nation states treasurers worldwide, 5% of global high net world, 5% of global net worth individuals wealth, 2.55 of institutional asset base, 5% of cash of the S&P 500, and 50% of gold's total market cap. So
that's crazy.
Pretty much Cathie Wood, which she's like she's one of those people that's very bullish on tech. I mean, she literally, half her ETF is pretty much Tesla. Like, she went hard on Tesla because she sees the future. She sees the future in cryptocurrency now. And this is big, man, because a person like that, she's literally, quote unquote, the future Warren Buffett of tech. You know what I mean? She's the Warren Buffett of crypto and tech. So if she's saying this, she sees something or hears of something that's going to push it to that level. And I think we're getting hints when there's another wording here where it said global currency.
Yeah.
Global adaptation, like U.S. adaptation. So in this article, there's hints of like being legal tender.
Yeah, mass adoption.
Mass adoption. Words like mass adoption.
Government scale.
Yeah, mass adoption and government scale. That's a hint of like it's inevitable for the government to make it legal tender.
Or at least hold some because it's worth so much for them.
Yes,
like
but
have it on their books.
But knowing that Visa, MasterCard are in on it, the two biggest credit card companies in the U.S. in the world, I think. I don't know, maybe just the U.S.
It's close.
It's close. Yeah, I don't know what's going on in Asia and Europe and all that. But what I'm saying is, in the U.S., they're the biggest hitters here,
Right.
and if they're working on going into crypto, that says a lot. that says like, okay, we know that the government's gonna accept it. We're just positioning ourselves. Cathie was saying, I see Visa, MasterCard positioning themselves. I see the government not saying no. So I'm going to go all in on this. I'm going to give these crazy predictions. And I'm talking about crazy predictions. Let me go up. Anybody that knows crypto and has been following crypto for like at least a year or so and understands the market cap, 20 trillion market cap on 2030, that's like 8 years from now, for Ethereum, when we're sitting at a 1.7 trillion market cap right now overall, including Bitcoin, Ethereum, and everything underneath that, is
like ETH is easily under like a third
yes,
trillion
yes,
right now.
yeah,
So you're
yeah,
20 trillion.
yeah.
Like,
So
what is happening?
That's like saying, Tesla's gonna be worth, $20,000. That's like saying Apple's gonna be worth, after their splits and everything. That's saying like Apple's gonna be worth like $5,000. You know what I mean?
Stocks.
It's stocks wise. That's what I'm saying. Well, I'm relating to like the stock market and the crypto, because she's really heavy bullish on stocks. Like that's where she started off, stocks, and then she transitioned to crypto. Warren Buffett, not so famous about crypto, but he's an old timer. He doesn't really, he looks at it like, yeah, he's like, I'm good. Like I'll let the young bucks handle this, but she's like trying to be a legacy, you know what I mean? And 20 trillion for Ethereum, man, that's like, Bitcoin was at like, well, at the all-time high. Bitcoin was like at what, a trillion, you know what I mean? A trillion point two.
I mean, we're talking about the next decade.
I understand that, but like, you know how many moves have to happen in order for that to happen?
Yeah, I do.
Everything has to fall in line,
I do.
from governments to financial institutions, which financial institutions really run the government.
Yeah. Well, if it gets big enough, it's inevitable to governments also, right? It's like, you can't turn it off or shut it down. It's decentralized. What are you gonna do? And I think they're already seeing that, to be honest. And it's small enough, but they're like, okay, we need to put up some laws because we already understand it's gonna get big enough that there's no point in like trying to shut this down, because we're gonna get behind because other countries are gonna like profit off this and we're not. So I think they're in a really weird place, but they're gonna adopt it because it's taking over.
Yes, correct. And that's the thing. Like, you don't understand something, so you kind of push it to the side. But when that thing becomes big enough and creates bigger headlines than what you're doing, you're going to be like, hey, why are they making so much money? And then when the one thing the government doesn't like is your U.S. dollar is going to another country.
Power neutral.
U.S. dollar is going to another country. Exactly. Or you not becoming that powerhouse. You know what I mean? Right. Another country is becoming a powerhouse because of crypto. Right. That's what they don't want. And so my belief is, this is strictly theory, this is on me. You control the banks. You convince the banks. You convince the governments. You convince the banks, automatically by default governments, because banks run the government. Banks loan money to governments. And that's the crazy part about it. You know what I mean? We always think like, oh, the government makes all these crazy amount of money. They do. They do.
The bank is the GDP, really.
Yes. The only reason why the government makes all this crazy amount of money is because the banks are making money off this money that's being printed. They're like, okay, we'll back you up.
Right. It's in everyone's best
Exactly.
interest.
It's in the bank's interest to let the government print money.
It's in everyone's best interest to support each other in your own system. I mean, why, if you live in America, you want America to be the best place it can be, right? So I don't know. I just thought this was an interesting article as we were reading something else. And, I mean, 20 trillion is insane if you understand market caps. I mean, yeah, like I stated recently, but Ethereum's like probably under half half a trillion, less than a third of a trillion right now, especially with everything dipping so hard. But it does get used constantly. The prices don't necessarily matter. I think the adoption is way more important than the price, as we've kind of covered the last couple podcasts. So I think that's always what to look at is adoption is way more important and people using it than price. So if you look at it by that, you'll probably do well. You'll probably be happy. You'll probably be fine. So, but at the end of the day, that's the truth, right? Like it's being used more and more, and governments and banks and everything like can't deny it, can't turn it down, can't shut it off. So they're joining them, they're agreeing with them, they're trying to work with them and partner with them because it is a great system. So,
Yeah, man. That's all I have to say, man.
yeah,
Yep.
for sure.
That's a good ending here. Thanks for tuning in to Two Dudes, One Garage. This is Leo signing out.
Thanks for hanging out and joining us. We're having a good time. Hope you guys are too. Honestly, it's been a lot of good information, a lot of where we see things going, and wouldn't be surprised if we're not too off base. So you're welcome. And Alex signing off. Have a good night. It's been Two Dudes, One Garage.